Good afternoon and welcome into the HearSports Podcast Show. I'm Kyle Newman, your host.
And I'm Rhett Hensley, your co-host.
On this show, anything sports goes, whether professional, college, or even high school. Debate is highly likely. Laughter is always encouraged. Good times is a given. And hashtag great sports talk will be a reoccurring theme. Today we will talk about the Open Championship, top 5 wide receivers in the NFL, NBA offseason, and NFL players with their off-field issues. Rhett Hensley, good afternoon here. 9th HearSports Podcast Show.
Good afternoon.
We're on a roll here. You sound perky. How you doing today, buddy?
Sound great. You know, I am perky. Perky to
like
be talking
confidence.
to you about sports.
Hey, that's what I like to hear.
How are you doing, Kyle?
Wonderful. Feeling good. Getting over a
Well,
little bit of a cold, so bear with me if there's a couple coughs, a couple drinks of water here. It's on the way out, but I'm doing
and mine's
great.
on the way in.
Yeah, isn't that something? Unfortunate. I guess those are the cards we were dealt, right? These last 2
Yeah,
weeks.
I told you, Kyle, I didn't want to kiss you, but this had to.
The man has some jokes, psycho. But we are a little late to the party for this week's show. It's supposed to be yesterday, but we had some busy schedules. We have work going on, different things coming up here late in the summer. So thank you for bearing with us, but we are just a day late, but we have a lot to talk about still, and it's going to be a fully loaded show. So, Rhett, let's get into it. I don't know if you knew, but there was a pretty famous tournament that just ended yesterday.
Really, what would that have been?
Oh, the Open Championship at the old course at St. Andrews. That's right, the birthplace of golf. St. Andrews, the historical course and venue that it is, Rhett. And let's just talk about that first. We love ourselves some St. Andrews. Like I said, the birthplace of golf. It doesn't get any better, does it, when the Open lands here every 5 years?
Oh, that's great. It's great.
You got to love it. You got to love it. And, boy, did it not disappoint. One thing you know about with St. Andrews is you get the elements. With St. Andrews comes the elements. The wind, the rain. You can always count on it. And, boy, did it happen, Rhett. Because this tournament was quite delayed. After Thursday, they were able to get the full day in, but you still had some rain come in there. It's kind of sunny to begin, but then you had the rain and wind come, and they got it through. 6-hour time difference from Central Time, 5 hours from Eastern Time. You had to be up early with your cup of coffee to catch these guys going off. Otherwise, you're catching them later in the round. But first day, they got through. Second day was a different story. We're talking about major delays because of wind mainly, but rain as well. Like a 7-hour delay. Right? It was insane. Basically, it was delayed to the point where they couldn't finish the second round. There was about half the golfers went off earlier that were able to finish, but a good portion that weren't. So the second round had to be finished up on Saturday morning. And then, on Sunday, was going to be the third round. And then for the first time in many years at St. Andrews, Monday was going to be the fourth and final round yesterday. It was just a crazy weekend, Rhett, with the weather. You really saw the elements come out.
Oh, yeah, but it makes it more exciting.
It makes it more St. Andrews-like. Is what it does. The links, it makes it the classic links golf that really challenges golfers. And
surprisingly,
you know what?
they shot very low.
Exactly, which is something we will talk about because our prediction was off. Last week's show, we were talking, I could see, I had predicted like 5 under. I could see being the winning score. That was surpassed a little bit. I think you were down in the low, even around even par.
I said right around even.
Yeah. And you know what? That's kind of what you expect from St. Andrews when you get weather like that, the wind and the rain. But these golfers took advantage of this course, and it was a heck of a tournament. It really
Now,
was.
Kyle, I would
Yes.
like to point out a very bold prediction you made last week.
Oh, so you're going right to that, are you?
Yes, I have to go right to that. You're very adamant about him making a very big comeback, and
Well, I believed in the guy, all right? I say.
you need to take that belief out and throw it out the door.
Yeah. Tiger Woods didn't make the cut. He made, but your prediction came true. So that's what he's doing. He's rubbing it in.
Exactly.
Okay, so the man struggled. After day one on Thursday, 4 over. Had trouble keeping the ball in the fairway, let's just say. Found the sand traps a lot, and when any golfer does that, you're going to have a hard time catching up. And that's been Tiger Woods' game. I mean, you're right. He's struggling. He is struggling, and my prediction was wrong, and I guess he's just still a long way back, and the Greenbrier was sort of a fluke. But you know what? Maybe it has to do with this links type of course at St. Andrews that, he already struggling a bit. He thought he maybe was finding his game a little on an American course, but this is a whole different story. And when you add in the elements, and with Tiger Woods' recent struggles the past couple years, then I guess I should have put 2 and 2 together. I maybe had a little bit of too much faith in Tiger Woods' comeback this soon. He certainly didn't get it done. But who did get it done is a man that I respect and admire and love, the humbled golfer that he is, Zach Johnson, winning in a 3-man playoff after 4 holes. It was such an exciting finish yesterday, but Zach Johnson, the American, got it done for USA, beating out Mark Leishman and Louis Oosthuizen, Rhett, to win this year's 144th Open Championship, to capture his second major of his career, the first coming at the Masters back in 2007. It's been a long way back and a battle for him, but you know what? This man was perfect for this course. He's maybe probably one of the best wedge players on tour. His putter is what has lost, it left him, and that's where, when he won the Masters in 2007, he was known as a great putter, and it kind of left him, but then it was back, and he's really worked hard on it. But what Zach Johnson is a consistent conservative golfer. He doesn't kill the ball, but he keeps the ball in play, and he is a very good putter and an amazing wedge player, and that's what this course offered him. It gave him those opportunities. He's a great wind player, probably one of the best on tour, Rhett. And he got off. He made an incredible 30-foot birdie putt on 18 to tie the leaders, and he had to wait an hour and a half only to see Mark Leishman and Louis Oosthuizen make his birdie putt on 18 to get into the playoff, and it was the best man up. 1, 2, 17, and 18 did they have to play, and right off the bat, Oosthuizen birdies, Johnson birdies, Leishman bogeys, and it's already looking bad for him. Second hole, Oosthuizen, par, birdie for Johnson, and another bogey for Leishman. He's essentially played himself out of it. And then things got interesting on 17. Zach Johnson got in a little trouble and bogeyed, and then Oosthuizen parred, and so now one back going on to 18, and this is where it all came down to this. Leishman was out of it, but Zach Johnson had a birdie putt to clinch the championship, and he missed it, so he left the door open for Oosthuizen to make his 10-foot birdie putt, and it lipped out, and Zach Johnson was this year's Open champion. Rhett, what did you think about the finish here in this tournament?
Well, I expected a freaking wonderful finish, and it was.
Absolutely.
But it was not expected who I thought was going to be in it.
No.
There was one man that I thought was going to be in it.
He came oh so close.
He came inches away.
Looking for history.
Away, and he did not. And that's Jordan Spieth.
That's right. Finished at 14 under.
But I was very excited to see Zach Johnson come out and pull it off. Louis, good old Louis.
That's right.
Was
Had
close,
himself a
but
solid tournament.
Leishman really just blew it.
He did. He choked.
Incredible choke. But we got to see what we wanted. You got a guy that you like, Kyle.
Exactly.
And he wasn't in my top 5, but I like him. But my prediction was a little off.
Yes, it was. And you mentioned Jordan Spieth. We should mention him really quick because he was looking for history. He was looking to complete the year's first 3 major wins since Ben Hogan's the only other player that's done that in history. And he was oh so close. And some would say he choked. Others would say that the players ahead of him just surged because he really had a great round. He went 3 under on the day, and he even said he didn't expect the leaders to go as far under as they did on the final day with the way the course was presenting itself. But he said he felt confident. He made an incredible birdie putt on 16 to tie the leaders. That's where you thought the vintage Jordan Spieth is back. It's going to happen again. And then he made a mistake on 17 and bogeyed. He missed a par putt that for Jordan Spieth is very makeable. And then on 18, he came oh so close, inches away on a birdie putt from the Valley of Sin to get right back there. And he just was not able to do it. Very disappointed, but some things led up to that. He had fans on. You don't like to make excuses but I still remember watching and seeing the shot on 18 where he was off on his iron shot from over 100 yards out. He had probably 3 times where he had to step back and was about to play it. And fans would yell something or the pictures would go off, and he got very frustrated. I think it got to him, and I think he should have waited several more seconds until he had cleared his mind, because I think when he took the shot, he was still upset about having to stop 3 times, and he went right, and it created that issue, and it ended up doing him in. Very, very close. Obviously, to finish tied for 4th in this tournament just goes to show how the torch is passed off to the man, and he will be a factor in the PGA Championship. But you got to give it to the guys on top. They did a great job fighting. And then you got to look at some of the other guys who had a good tournament, but just wasn't surging enough throughout the weekend to catch these guys up top, which we didn't expect. Your boy Adam Scott was right there, tied for the lead with 5 holes. 5 holes to play, and he went 5 over on the last 5 holes, Rhett, to finish the final round 1 under and 10 under for the tournament. Played himself out of it. Sergio Garcia, 2 under on the day, was 1 back from the lead until he double bogeyed and finished 11 under. That's old Sergio for you right there. Jason Day was oh so close, had a birdie putt on 18 to get in and just left it short. He finished at 14 under. Justin Rose, 11 under, was up there in the leaderboard. This is impressive to me. I got to mention this, Rhett. We had 4 amateurs in the top 20. That is impressive to me, that these guys finished like that. I mean, how unbelievable and great for the sport to have that. Jordan Niebrug from the United States at 11 under was the highest finishing amateur. It tied for 6th. That's just impressive to me. I really love to see that for the game of golf. But it was a fully leaderboard. After Phil had come back, finished at 7 under, top 20 finish for him. Good finish. 3 under on the final round, but just didn't get enough. He didn't birdie enough this tournament. Phil. That's Phil. That's right, Phil. You had Ricky Fowler, who made a surge on Sunday in the 3rd round, going 6 under to give himself a shot, and then went one over on the final day to finish at 6 under. But you had all the guys, Rhett, that were all in the discussion, but the difference was the men up top who were running away. They were not giving shots back.
Yeah, well, Ricky Fowler should have attacked like a puma.
That's right.
Just plain and simple. He came in like a kitty cat.
He did. He showed his inconsistency once again. How about Dustin Johnson? You want to talk about a man who blowing it, coming off hot from the U.S. Open, was right there after day 2, and ended up shooting 6 over on the final 2 days, Rhett. Just really choked. And
Expected.
It's another story, exactly. Until the man can prove that he can get it done, you'll have to continue doubting him when his name's up there, and that's what happened. But all in all, great tournament. It'll be back in 5 years at St. Andrews. I can't wait. But I respect so much the man who won this tournament. Well deserved. He played it, and he's a true professional that is humble, and that's my favorite part. It's why I like him so much. But definitely didn't disappoint. We're at the British Open at St. Andrews.
It's great to watch.
Absolutely. Until next year. Until next time at St. Andrews. Zach Johnson, your champion. Rhett, let's transition here into a different segment, a different sport, and one that I am going to find real intriguing, because I have a feeling we are going to have some true disparity on this one. But we're going to talk the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL coming up this 2015-2016 season, Rhett. And I can't wait to hear what you have. So I need you to kick it off with your disrespectfulness and all that I see coming. Give me your number 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
That's actually kind of hurtful, Kyle.
Is it?
As I am paying respect to your people.
Well, please.
T.Y. Hilton.
There's no way.
My number 5.
Wow. That is a shocker, Rhett, that we have the same one starting off. I am shocked, but I appreciate the respect. Go ahead and talk about Mr. T.Y.
He's entering his contract year, which is, contract year, as we can go into the NBA. Roy Hibbert just excelled in his contract year.
Yes.
But
this man's not Roy Hibbert, I can assure you that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it happen, but
I bet you wouldn't.
But he's got Andrew Luck throwing him the ball, and that's just another incredible thing for him. He's got incredible things coming for him this season, and as I hate to say it, they're going to be good.
Thank you.
They're going to be pretty decent. Not better than the boys, though. That's for sure.
Agree to disagree on that.
But he showed what he was made of last year, Kyle, and I didn't say it, but it was impressive. It was impressive.
Well, I appreciate the respect, and oddly enough, Rhett Hensley and I have the same number 5. Yes, my boy T.Y. Hilton for the Indianapolis Colts is the 5th best receiver in the NFL. And it is worth mentioning, this is coming off of the fact that this is a loaded wide receiver NFL. There are so many good wide receivers, but he's in the top 5. And is there some bias? Yes, but he has the stats to back it up. This man's entering his 4th year, just like Andrew Luck, in the NFL. He is 5'9", 178 pounds, and he is every bit of lightning quick is T.Y. Hilton, and that's not just why. You know what? He helps make Andrew Luck better. It's not just Andrew Luck throwing him the football. This man is a stud. He flies. He's a great route runner. He is Speedy Gonzalez, and he did have some pretty darn good numbers last year in a loaded league. He finished 6th on the list in receiving yards with 1345. He did have 7 touchdowns. And they're not flashy numbers, but here's the most impressive thing to me about T.Y. Hilton. He wasn't the number one target on the team. He only had 82 receptions, and to put up those numbers with 82 receptions is flat out impressive. The offense of the Indianapolis Colts is loaded with receivers, with tight ends, which is why there is no real number one target, but he's going to be becoming that. There's no doubt about that, and he's proven it each year. It's not just last year in the league. Since he's entered, he's made an impact on the Indianapolis Colts. Big play guy, that's what he gives you. And he's had 21 20-plus yard receptions, almost 90 yards a game receiving. It's impressive, and I have to put him at number 5. And I look forward to seeing what he does this year and leading the Indianapolis Colts to the Super Bowl, being a big part of that, and having, yes, a better record than the Dallas Cowboys. And quite frankly, I'd love to beat him in the Super Bowl, but we've already talked about that segment. That's not what's going to happen. It won't be the Cowboys there. So, yeah, number 5, Rhett, we're in agreement. I'm shocked. I'm waiting for disparity. So give me your number 4.
Calvin Johnson.
What a stud. I can't wait to discuss this a little bit here. Why do you think he's number 4?
Well, he didn't come off a very great season last year, but the man is dangerous.
He is.
He's a dangerous man when it comes to being in the red zone, and if he's healthy, he's gonna take the league by storm. Now he is sharing the spotlight with Golden Tate, so I would say that, he's probably not going to be. I don't think that it's going to be the main focus on Calvin Johnson, but I think he's great. He's 6'5", he's built, he's got it. He's got it all.
They call him Megatron for a reason. Right. He's I believe he is the biggest receiver in the NFL. Here's the thing about Calvin Johnson. It may come off as disrespectful, but I'm going to state my case. He did not make my top 5. He was close, but here's why. You mentioned it off the bat. He was injured last year, and he's starting to get older in the league. And he's been double-teamed so much because he's such a threat that he's starting to take big hits. And that's what we saw last year, and he couldn't stay healthy. He was 16th on the receiving yards list, 71 receptions only for just over 1,000 yards and only 8 touchdowns. That is massively down from what he is used to doing. Do I think there'll be more than that this year for him? More eye-popping numbers, yes. But I will not put him in the top 5 because I don't think it will be Megatron of old. I think you mentioned it. They've got another receiver in there in Golden Tate who will help, who will be receiving a lot of targets from Matthew Stafford. But I just don't see it. I think he's on a bit of a decline as he's gotten older. I think he's past his prime. That's how I'm going to word it. And so I will not put him in my top 5. I can respect you putting him in there at number 4. And it crossed my mind putting him in at the top 5, but I couldn't do it because I don't think he will be top 5 worthy. But I will give you my number 4. Like I said, this is when I think the disparity really starts, Rhett.
Oh, you're going to be disrespectful here.
That's where I think the disparity really starts.
Oh, my gosh, he's going to be disrespectful.
No, you're going to be shocked. You wouldn't be able to predict who I'm going to say right now, I bet. All right?
Beckham.
The man is Jordy Nelson for the Green Bay Packers. I'm putting him in at number 4 because this guy's a stud. Probably the best white. Let me get it out here. He's probably the best white wide receiver in the NFL. He is. It's respectable to watch, and I say that because you don't expect that. So, as a white person, there's no it's no racial involvement at all. I appreciate seeing a white receiver that is good at his craft because you do not see it. You can go down the list. There are hardly any other wide receivers and some that are as productive as him and talented and tough and fast. I respect it. And he deserves that respect. He was 4th on the list on the receiving yards list in the NFL this past year for the Green Bay Packers. Now, he does have that bad man in Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football, but he is a bad receiver, and Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have the stats he has without Jordy Nelson. His number one target, 98 receptions this past year, he was targeted 151 times, 1,519 receiving yards, 13 touchdowns, 19 20-plus yard reception, and he didn't fumble the ball once. The man takes care of the ball. He makes incredible catches, and it's not like it's out of the blue. He's been putting up these type of numbers since he's been in Green Bay.
He's scrappy.
And come into the league. He is scrappy, and it's exciting to see, and I can appreciate someone like this at this position where you would not expect it, but he is a stud. Much like a token of a white basketball player who is good, Jordy Nelson is that in a football uniform, and I respect seeing it, Rhett. He's my number 4.
All right, I can respect it.
Well, there you go. But again, disparity, like I have a feeling you didn't put him in your top 5. So let's see what your number 3 is.
All right, Odell Beckham Jr.
Wow. A little
this
shocked.
Guy,
You're taking a leap of faith with this
I'm
man.
taking a leap of faith. This guy, last year, he was incredible. He was actually, when I was watching him, I wish he was on the Dallas Cowboys.
I wish he was. Do. He'll be tearing you guys up this year.
Yes. He had a guy, Eli Manning, that he had issues with turnovers last year.
That's been the story of his career. A little inconsistent.
Yeah, he was having the woes again. So, Beckham, he's fast, he's athletic. The guy can make amazing catches.
Yes.
And I think with the New York Giants this coming year, he's going to be a major threat to them. And the ceiling is as high as he wants to set it. And I think that he can set it very high.
I can respect it, Rhett. I will tell you this. He did not make my top 5. Here's why. He's still so young, and I just have to wonder, first of all, what Eli Manning's going to show up. Is he going to be able to get him the ball without turning the ball over so much? That's going to be the key. But in the division with the Green Bay Packers, in the division with the Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Washington Redskins, it's going to be tough when you have a lot of other great receivers on that team. And you have to wonder just how well the quarterback will play and what the Giants' defense will look like, But the thing is, he's a great young talent. We saw it last year. He finished 10th, though, on the receiving yards list last year. 91 receptions, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. Pretty impressive, and he didn't fumble it. And I think he'll be impressive. I'd put him in the top 10, but not the top 5. He's too young. I got to wait and see with this guy. And I just think there were some better receivers that have proven it and have been in the league and that have made my top 5 and why I didn't put him in there, Rhett. I can respect it, and I will tell you it's part of my prediction. He's one of the reasons why I think that the Giants will beat out your Dallas Cowboys in that division and really prove to be lethal. And they seem to always have your number, and this guy is going to contribute to that. I fully believe that, but I didn't put him in the top 5, but I can respect your number 3 there, Rhett.
Thank you.
My number 3. These top 3 got real juicy. There was a lot of tossing around. But yes, my number 3 plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and his name's Antonio Brown. This man was number 1 in the league last year in receiving yards, 1,698, flat out impressive. 182 targets. He had 129 receptions. That was more than anybody, not just in the top 10. As I go down the list, that is the most receptions on the top 40, maybe in the league. At receiver, certainly, just looking at the top 40 list, that was the most receptions. He had 13 touchdowns. He had 19 20-plus yard receptions, and he only fumbled the ball once. He's a downfield threat. Much like T.Y. Hilton, this guy is speedy. He runs great routes, and he had Ben Roethlisberger throwing him the ball, and he was his number one target. He's a big playmaker. So I had to put him in there. Being number one in the league last year, I don't think he'll be number one. That's why I have him at number 3, but I think he'll be up there. He's a great talent. Ben Roethlisberger will be back throwing him the football. And it's not a fluke. This guy's put up good numbers the previous years, too. So Antonio Brown is my number 3, Rhett. And I see you smiling there. So is something disrespectful going to come out here? Or what do you have going on at your number 2?
Well, I was going to actually say the same thing. Antonio Brown
is your number 2.
Yes.
Wow.
So, yes, and I'm guessing we expect number 1. But, back-to-back leading and receiving, that's
not too shabby.
Back-to-back years. It hasn't happened since 2011.
Good stat.
He's 26 years old. The guy, he's not the fastest. He doesn't have the best of hands.
Because he runs
but
great
the guy
runs.
can. Thanks for finishing my sentence.
You're welcome. I got you.
He might be a little underrated on the athleticism.
I agree.
Part, but the guy can run a route like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And he can make plays. What can you say?
Yes.
So that's why he's my number 2.
Well, I can definitely understand that, Rhett. And quite honestly, I'm a little surprised that we haven't had as much disparity as I thought. Though I think a little disrespect has come in here of a couple guys I've mentioned that you haven't mentioned that made the top 5. This guy number 2 is one of them, Rhett. All right, my number 2, Demaryius Thomas for the Denver Broncos. All right, this man is an absolute monster, and he has been ever since Peyton Manning arrived. Basically, his number 1 target was number 2 in the league last year with 111 receptions, targeted 184 times. That's more than anybody in the top 10, as well as anybody in the top 40. That's the most receptions, or the most targets. 1,619 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns, 25 20-plus yard receptions, and no fumbles. Proven to be a threat and helping the Broncos go deep into the playoffs the last few years, although thanks to my Indianapolis Colts that ended that. But I'll tell you what, he's gotten it done, and he's a big threat. Clearly Peyton Manning's favorite target, and also a man, Rhett, who just got a big contract like your Dez Bryant. Well-deserved. Both of them, the two best receivers in the NFL, in my opinion, as much as I hate to say it, which we'll get to. But I will say this, it's the man's just, quite honestly, continued to put up impressive numbers. 4th in receiving yards the last 2 years prior to last year. He's the real deal. So Demaryius Thomas, Rhett, my number 2. A little shocked that you've thrown in a couple disrespectful picks to replace these men who have been veterans.
Emerging.
You're looking at the future a little bit here. You just like throwing out what they've been doing these past years. These crafty veterans that are becoming. It's probably without any doubt even introduced number 1, but we've got to talk about it. And yes, we are in agreement. As much as I hate to say it and hope that I'm wrong, Rhett, number 1 is Dez Bryant. Why?
Well, I actually almost put him as my number 2.
Wow, so you were trying to be respectful.
I almost put him as my number 2, but the fact that I did not is because who's the running back for the Dallas Cowboys this year? You got Joseph Randle and McFadden. So, who is going to be the main target for the Dallas Cowboys this coming season? And that is the franchise tag. Can I get a drum roll, please?
No, not at all.
Dez Bryant. 2-time Pro Bowler, 2013, 2014. Dallas Cowboys record, most receiving touchdowns in a season, 16. You know, the guy is the real deal. And last year, he had 88 receptions for 1,320. Not the most, but
no, 8th on the list.
But we had an animal
yeah,
as a running back, so it did not have to just shine the spotlight on him.
Contributed a bit. He got injured a little bit too, but it definitely.
And he had 0 fumbles.
Yeah,
that's another shining moment right there.
That's very true. Just a big drop, a little not as clutch as maybe everyone's making him out to be. Although I did have to put him at number 1 too, like I said. And I hope you see the respect, Rhett, that I'm showing here. The fact that he was 8th on the list.
I showed her some respect too.
There were plenty of receivers ahead of him that I probably should have put in the top 5, but I didn't. He just signed a max contract with the Dallas Cowboys. Along with Demaryius Thomas for the Broncos, that might make them the highest paid receivers ever. But which I believe is true. He's well deserved of it, and I think he'll show that he can live up to those expectations for the Cowboys. With DeMarco Murray gone now, he will be the number 1 target and will be thrown to a lot. My only question is he going to be able to stay healthy? Because much like Calvin Johnson, he's going to have a target on his back. He will be getting double-teamed a lot, maybe triple-teamed. And I just wonder if he'll be able to take the sauce.
Bring it on, baby. Bring it on.
Here's the thing with him. Those numbers you mentioned are impressive enough for me to put him at number 1. I do believe that he's the most talented receiver in the NFL. So I do think his numbers will be closer to the top this next year. As much as I hate to say it, but I do have to put that Cowboy.
I'm glad you showed respect, Kyle.
At number 1, but
would have been very disrespectful if you didn't.
Yeah, I only could have pondered the idea, but no, I really couldn't have. I had to be realistic about it, and I had to be objective, and that's what I was doing. So yes, Dez Bryant, best receiver in the NFL. I think he'll prove it this next year.
Hey, can you say that one more time, please?
Dez Bryant, the best receiver in the NFL for the worst team, but it will be interesting to see what happens this next year, how accurate we are on our top 5. But you just got a dose. You just got a dose of Rhett and Kyle's top 5 wide receivers in the NFL.
You just got a mouthful.
That's right. To pull out a little One Tree Hill reference there, you did get a mouthful. And now, Rhett, we're going to transition to our next segment here. We love to talk about this. It seems like every week things are going in a different direction here. Always something happening. NBA offseason is what we have, Brett. And I always love to let you take this away because this is your bread and butter. But there's a lot that's happened in the last week. Let's talk NBA offseason. What you got?
All right. I would like to start out with the top 5 worst contracts.
Wow.
Of the offseason.
Okay. What you got for me?
All right. Shine some light on Wesley Matthews.
Wesley Matthews.
Not a man that I think deserves a $70 million contract over the next 4 years. He's been a little injured, as we could say. Don't you think, Kyle?
This last year, yes.
Yes, been a little injured. And, I don't think he's really shined a $70 million contract the past few years anyway.
I think it's a very trusting contract, and that would concern me as well.
Putting a lot of faith.
It is. That, the Mavericks they've been known to do that with players. We all know that Mark Cuban's a great businessman, the greatest businessman in probably all of sports as an owner. But I just don't know if he will end up being worth that. He's a good player. He proved that with the Trailblazers before he got injured, that he can stretch the floor, he can knock down three-pointers. He is a threat and can be a starter. I just wonder, with that injury, the knee injury, can he come back? We've seen it too many times with players, and I wouldn't consider him a star. And we've seen superstars like Derrick Rose, it be a long recovery back and get a second and third injury happen again to the knee. So I hope that doesn't happen for this young man. He is young, but that contract, I agree, Red, is pretty trusting there.
Yeah, exactly. That is my number 5, Kyle. And number 4 is one that I don't really like, and I think would, this organization has had some issues in the past and is having issues to this day. All right, Kyle?
All right. Who you got?
And that is signing Rajon Rondo.
Oh, boy, Rajon Rondo.
$10 million deal for 1 year. And, it doesn't seem very much for a promising point guard, that's going to dish the ball. But when you're coming into a dysfunctional NBA franchise,
the Sacramento Kings.
Yes, and you have a coach and the star player not getting along already. And that's never good.
No, and I'll chime in right away. I agree. This is a lot of trusting money for only 1 year for this player who is past his prime and is one major headache for an NBA organization. This guy might find a way to find a way to pick fights with every single player and coach on the team.
Exactly.
I already see it being a disaster with him and DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins, as it is, has a temper and is clearly the star on this team and in the league. So I just see them having an issue quick.
They just brought 2 players in that has no jump shot whatsoever, and they're bringing them in to play with DeMarcus Cousins. I don't really see the point of that because that's just gonna make people clog the lane even more, and DeMarcus Cousins is gonna get shut down, in my own opinion. I think it's very dumb, and I don't like it.
Well, I can agree
with
that.
Rajon Rondo has just an awful temper.
He does.
And nobody
he's
can
selfish. He's a selfish player. He can't shoot the ball. What he's good for is passing. And even that, he's becoming more selfish and less of a true point guard because he's trying to shoot the ball more.
Exactly. And
he's had trouble with health. He's getting older.
Yeah, so he is getting older.
I don't think he'll stay healthy. I don't think the chemistry will be healthy there. I think it's going to be a bad situation pretty quick. The poor Sacramento Kings just can't seem to do anything right.
Exactly. So, Kyle, I would like you to take the lead on this next one. I want to see how you feel about this one.
All right, number 3.
Number 3. Monte Ellis. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, I was about to say, Rhett.
Enes Kanter.
Slap you through the screen here, disrespectful, man. What are you, trading on the Pacers? That's a great one. You're talking about top 5 great contracts. Okay, yeah. Did you say Enes Kanter? Is that what you said,
yes.
Or Omar Sheik? Which one?
How did you get Omar Sheik out of that?
I just I could see you saying something about him.
Yeah, not a fan of him, but that.
All right, let me tell you something. 4 years, $70 million with the Thunder. He proved that he's a good player, and he was that for the Thunder last year, and he's been that. But here's the thing: that's a lot of money. I don't think he's that good. He proved that he can help as a big man, but
he's a weak defender.
Yeah, for 4 years, $70 million. I think that's a lot of trust in this man.
Here's a fun fact for you, Kyle.
We'll throw it out there.
The man has only averaged 1 shot blocked every 3 games through 4 seasons.
Yeah, defense is not his strong suit. He's better. He's a lot better on offense, and maybe that's what the Thunder are looking at in this guy. Although defense is key, as we know, that's a priority.
Yeah, you got two guys that can definitely score on your team already.
That's right. So basically what it comes down to with this is too much for this man. That's what it comes down to. What about you, Rhett? Chime in on that number 3 there.
Well, I don't like it. I think that's way too big of a contract. 4 years, $70 million for a guy that can play defense like my grandma. That's a Walker.
Yes.
You already got 2 fantastic superstars on your team, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Why bring somebody in that for scoring when you need help with defense? I think that's their struggling issue anyway in the old Oklahoma City. But maybe they're thinking that Kevin Durant's not going to be around for very much longer. That could be the issue. But I don't think he's worth that much, Kyle.
Nope. I agree.
He's not worth that much.
I agree. What do you have at number 2?
Number 2, Derek Williams.
Oh, this guy is what I like to call a bust. And much like a Michael Beasley annoys me. This guy coming out of Arizona showed a lot of promise, but since he's been in the NBA, not so much. And I agree. You're putting it pretty high up there as far as terrible decisions with the contract, Rhett. And I'll agree with you. First of all, he's going to the New York Knicks, which is an issue in itself. Second of all, 2 years, $10 million. To pay this man $5 million a year is much like the Pacers paying Chase Budinger $5 million a year. You kind of just wonder what they're thinking. Basically, I think it's a terrible pick, and I think the Knicks are going to regret paying this man that much. He's had trouble staying healthy. He has proven to be not as good of a scorer as he seemed he would be out of Arizona, and just don't agree with it, Rhett. And I'm glad he went to the Knicks, though. The old rivals, we can just embarrass them more.
Knickerbockers.
That's right. What do you think about it?
Well, I think it's very stupid. I think that he's a bust. And, if that's what the Knicks want to do, then by all means, take him.
That's right.
And we'll definitely be there to kick the piss out of you.
That's right. Busted, baby. Got me speeding in the fast lane. Pedal to the flow, man. Trying to get back to your love, your love. I had to pull it out, Rhett. You said it perfectly.
Stupid.
Busted,
Oh,
baby.
Gosh. But he's not gonna help them. Just plain and simple. The guy has not done anything in his career. He played for the Sacramento Kings. He sucked there. Just why pay the guy $10 million for 2 years? So what were you guys just trying to fill something up? Because you guys trying to fill that void that you guys couldn't pay anybody to come.
That's right.
To the Knicks, I just don't like it. I don't like it.
We're in agreement there.
But Kyle, I don't think you're gonna like my next one.
No, maybe not.
My number one. You might or you might not. It's gonna go either way. And my next one is Reggie Jackson. My number 1.
Whoa, Rhett Hensley. I sense a little disrespect with that one. I'm curious to see why you're feeling that way. Let me tell you something. This man's the real deal at point guard. He gets it done, and I think it was a great signing for the Detroit Pistons, a team in our division who has been at the bottom end of the totem pole for years, and I think it will help them as they've been trying to make moves and get better, but I think they're paying him too much. I will agree with that. 5 years, $80 million.
No, it's not that.
Has
$5 million, $84.8 million.
Oh,
it went up a little.
5 year, 84. Okay. Well, regardless, that's too much money. And he's young, so they're trusting in him. I'm okay with the 5 year terms. That's good for commitment, but $80 million is a lot of money.
There's no way he deserves to get paid the same amount of money John Wall does. John Wall.
Yeah, he voiced that, didn't he?
Yes. I find that very, very crazy. For the comparison, John Wall averaged 18 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, and 2 steals per game through 5 seasons in the NBA.
That's impressive.
Yes, that is very impressive. And, it's just astonishing to see that. But simple fact is, I don't like the Pistons. But if they want to waste all their money on this, go right ahead. Because I don't like. If you want to pay that much to him, go right ahead. I don't care.
Unless
Waste
it
it all.
turns out to work out really well.
I don't think it's going to.
Last year he averaged 14.5 points per game, 6 assists per game, 4 rebounds per game. And on his career, it's averaging about 10 points per game. Not necessarily eye-popping stats that you would expect for that type of money, but he is a point guard. I can agree with your comparison to John Wall because a true point guard himself, by golly, can not only score but is an assist first man, 9 assists per game. That's just flat out impressive. But he does average 6 assists per game. The thing that I like about him, he's only 25 years old. It's only his 4th year in the league, so he's young. Unlike John Wall, who's getting up there.
But he's making the same as a superstar right now.
Yeah,
he got a max contract.
He did,
Max.
and it just goes to show that the Detroit Pistons were desperate. The man can score as a point guard, true, but the fact that he does average 6 assists per game shows that he still has that pass first mentality, and they could definitely use the point guard. But, if that's what they saw in it, they felt like, here's the thing. He was being a little selfish. He wanted a max contract. I have a feeling the Detroit Pistons would have never offered him that much money. But it's almost like, okay, everyone else is gone. We got to grab somebody and make a big move. And that's what this situation was. Because if they didn't, somebody else would have. I'm a little surprised. But he's obviously confident in himself. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. I can agree with you. It's a big contract bust there, Rhett, for them. But I think he'll turn out to prove a good pickup for them. But I think in the end they're going to feel like they wasted a bit of money. He might not end up panning out like they quite expected him to, like a superstar point guard like John Wall.
Yeah. I don't think he's worth that much, but we will see if it pans out for them.
Yes, we will. So do you have any other, in the past week, latest moves that have happened before we get on to the
Monte
next
Ellis
segment?
deal fell through at the beginning of when he first signed. The Indiana Pacers did not have their funds to be able to sign him when they first signed the contract.
Not good.
So he had to go back and re-sign a second contract after their affairs were in order.
Thank goodness they did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that right there was the big news for the week for me. There wasn't too much going on this week in the NBA off season, but I can say that I saw a very creepy video of Joey Crawford saying that he will tee somebody up, and he said it in a very creepy voice, and it made me feel very uncomfortable, to be honest.
Is that right?
It did. Very uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh, I may have to see something like this.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy. Very creepy.
That really does sound like it, right? I will add, there haven't been a lot that happened, but there are a few that we should mention before we get on to the next segment. This was one of the bigger ones that just happened yesterday. Point guard Ty Lawson was traded from the Denver Nuggets to the Houston Rockets for a it was actually Ty Lawson and a 2017 second-round pick to Houston for a protected 2016 first-round draft pick, Nick Johnson, Kostas Papanikolaou, Pablo Prigioni, and Joey Dorsey, and cash considerations. If you ask me, the Denver Nuggets got a bit of a deal here.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a lot for one player and a second-round draft pick.
I think I would have gave him a second-round draft pick if he came to the Indiana Pacers.
No
I would've
kidding.
been willing.
And not to mention that Ty Lawson's have been having some serious off-the-court issues. And maybe a liability as it is. A guy that I do like he's a true point guard. The small little guy like a Nate Robinson can be a spark plug. But that's a big pickup for the Houston Rockets, who's continued to seem to make... They seem to continue, Rhett, to be able to make big offseason moves. Josh Smith goes. They got to bring somebody in. It freed up some money. I'm pretty impressed. I think it will help this team out. Now, I will say this. How's it going to work when you've got Ty Lawson at point guard, you've got James Harden at shooting guard, and then you've got Dwight Howard at point guard, or at center?
I think it's not going to work out in their favor, Kyle. I see a very annoyed point guard. I see a very annoyed shooting guard, and I see a very annoyed center.
Because, hey, I want the ball more here. Well, James Harden will just be a point guard a lot of times and just take it himself, that bad man that he is. Boy, do I fear the beard. I know you're not a fan of him. I love him. But basically, I think they made a good pickup, but I think in this pick, definitely I think that the Denver Nuggets won out here. Now, here's the thing. The Pistons re-signed Joel Anthony, and then you had mentioned Reggie Jackson's multi-year contract that was altered a bit. The Pelicans re-signed Luke Babbitt. The Spurs re-signed Manu Ginobili. This all happened yesterday. That's pretty interesting there. A couple days ago on Saturday, the Toronto Raptors signed Bismack Biyombo to a multi-year contract. Pretty darn interesting. On the 16th, last Thursday, the Mavericks re-signed J.J. Barea to a 4-year contract. The Clippers signed Josh Smith. The Bucks signed Rashad Vaughn. The Suns signed Brandon Knight to a 5-year contract. Big win for them. There had been talks about him leaving or not leaving or whatever. And then the Spurs signed David West, unfortunately. And the Kings voided the contract of Luke Mbah-a-Moute after he failed a team physical. Pretty interesting there. And then the last bit that happened before the last week's show, or after the show, in between this show, the Clippers signed Brandon Dawson, the Spurs re-signed Matt Bonner, and the Raptors signed Norman Powell. So some news there, some bigger than others, Rhett, but not too much has been happening. It's kind of tamed down in the off-season.
Yeah, it has. It has. Just everything happened at the beginning, and now it's just starting to flow out.
It definitely has. It definitely has. Well, Rhett, let's get into this last segment here as we're running a bit behind, but we can always squeeze in a little bit and go after if we have to. But we got to talk about something that
just touch on a little bit.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah. It's become a reoccurring theme.
Yes,
shall we say, with the NFL, and that's with players and their off-field issues, Rhett.
Exactly.
And it's been a nonstop battle that the league has been trying to deal with. There is a violent crime problem, in case you haven't heard, fans, in the NFL. And it's there's so many. We've talked about the players before, from the Greg Hardys to the Ray Rices, the Aaron Hernandez, the Adrian Petersons of the world. The list really does go on and on. The bottom line is there's been an issue, and it doesn't seem to be getting much better. Now it's even affecting first-round draft selections.
Exactly.
Like the fact of the risks, it's a big consideration. Is how were they in college off the field, and are they a liability? It's playing a big factor into drafts. There is an interesting stat about 1.1% of NFL first-round draft selections are arrested for assault per season. But you know what, Rhett? The bottom line is there's still a huge problem. What's your take on the off-field issues? It seems every single off-season something else is coming out.
It's just come to the point of there's just a lot of issues with this around the league, and it's incredible to see because you don't see this with like NBA, soccer. I don't really see it with baseball.
No.
But the NFL, they're having issues, and it's just one after another.
I wonder
one
why.
after another, and I don't know if it's the players. I don't know if they're getting them from if they're cutting corners in high school and when they're bringing them into the college level, or if they're being taught different things when they're in college by their coaches. But I think that there needs to be some standards, and I think instead of just letting them slide by when they're rookies, it needs to be nipped in the bud, and people need to be made accountable for what they're doing.
Yeah, when 18%, this is the number right now, 18% of the NFL's most highly paid and highly visible players are arrested, there's a big PR problem. That's a major percentage of player, and it seems to be getting worse. And it's really putting the NFL, it's hurting the image of the NFL. It's hurting the commissioner, Roger Goodell, in his position, and he's made some mistakes the past couple of years with decisions, but trying to work past those. But I just don't know what they can do now. From here on out, they're already trying to make the penalties more severe with suspensions. If there's a first-time offense and a second time, you're done in the league. I like that. I really like the measures they're taking. I think that will help. But I think it goes to, it's just like, what do you do with these grown men? Do you have to monitor them more like they're kids? I mean, what do teams need to do to create issue, to limit these issues? That's the thing, because they have that responsibility when they get these players on their team. What do you think? What is it that can be done so these players can change the way they act?
I think that there needs to be a couple players made a target for, as I would say, and make a statement move with them, and you could be banning them from the league or giving a full year suspension without pay.
Something's more severe. You're going like something more severe needs to be done.
More severe, because it's getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand, Kyle, and it's kind of getting old to see it. I'm sick and tired of seeing it on my timeline.
No kidding. It's clouding the Twitter feed. I mean, basically, everyone has their hands in it that's involved with the NFL, and it's a challenge for teams. It's a new challenge, it started really a few years ago, but it is a new challenge that every team is going to have to deal with and think about how they can address these issues and limit these liabilities.
I have a couple players. If you want me to read them off, Kyle, I can read it. That's already been arrested this season.
Please do. It'll put it into perspective.
Terrence Cody, Baltimore Ravens. Joseph Randall, Dallas Cowboys. I can't say this guy's name, so I'm going to skip him.
Well, give it an attempt.
Latroy Guan.
Wani!
Yes. So, Ahmad Bradshaw, the Colts, which I believe he's a free agent now. Then we have Victor Hampton, Baltimore. And we have, Bruce Miller, Alex Okafor, and Julius Caesar. That's a great name.
It
great
is.
Name. And Bernard Pierce.
It's unbelievable.
And Brian Dixon. And Rodney Austin. And Ray McDonald. And Prince Shimbo.
Unbelievable. It's just the list. The list does go on.
And that hasn't been updated since June 9th. And there's been a few more arrests.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
It's hard to believe. I just can't believe that there's this many issues that keep arising. It's like players don't learn from their mistakes. And here's the more disappointing factor. These are professionals that,
People look up to.
young kids, people are supposed to be able to look up to and, expect that they'll act professional in this career that they've chosen in sports. I mean, let's face it, they've got it made. They've got it made, obviously they're human with flaws, and they're showing that. But you've got it made with your career, to make good decisions. It's a little mind-boggling to me with these players, and it's a different topic with this and another story. But like the players that make this much money and blow it, not responsible enough to be able to manage their money and go broke. It's just amazing to me. It's the immaturity with some of these players at their age and the decisions that they make. It's definitely tainting the league's image, and I hope that something gets done about it soon. Right? I agree with you. I'd like to see the penalties get more and more severe. I think that's the only way to make in these players' minds, make them think twice about what they decide to do off the
Exactly.
field. So
Exactly.
I see stricter punishments coming for sure, and I think that will help. I also see teams finding ways to monitor these players more. There's going to be a leash on these guys. Your curfew is now going to be earlier. You've had a history with this. You're not going to be able to go here. They decide to not go with it, then they're off the team. I mean, this is what it's going to lead to. There's going to be consequences for certain actions, and I hope to see it, Rhett.
Exactly. There should be. There should be.
There definitely should be. Absolutely. And, one thing before we finish up this show that I'd like to mention, I'd like to see these players stop getting off the hook for things that a normal human being would not get off the hook for. It's one thing that has bothered me for years, that these guys get slap on the wrist for things that an ordinary citizen would not, that would get years of jail time and stuff.
Exactly.
I think that there needs to be a change in this country with these laws and these players not getting, basically what looks like diplomacy, diplomatic immunity is what it seems
slap on
like.
the wrist, Kyle.
Yeah, it seems like they're getting immunity. Like it's just. It needs to change, and I hope it does. And basically, Rhett, we just got to try and look past it and look at and look forward to the NFL and try and hope that they finish with these issues are done with. Because there's one thing about me, football is my favorite sport. I love when the fall comes around and it's time for football to start up. So I can put these things out of my mind and back. But there are certain fans that won't be able to. I can focus on the good and get excited, like I'm sure you can, Rhett.
Exactly.
But it is human nature to be tired of it and to hope it changes.
Exactly. It's definitely frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
but, you got to move on.
You do. Just like we're going to do until next week's show, that is all that we have for today. We thank you for tuning in. Feel free to leave feedback. We want to be able to address comments and questions on the show. Got to throw them at us, though. Tweet and retweet the show at Kyle M. Newman, at Rhett Hensley, and at Indiana Pacers Talk. We will be back at it, hopefully, if everything goes smoothly, by next Monday at 8 Eastern Time. I'm Kyle Newman.
And I'm Rhett Hensley.
You have a great rest of the day. And go sports.
Go sports.